It was late October, and I was lying in the old clawfoot tub in our upstairs bathroom, the one with the chipped enamel and the rusty drain. The water was lukewarm, barely taking the edge off the ache in my shoulder. I'd torn something bad in there, rotator cuff, the doc said, after 20 years of hauling lumber and swinging a hammer for a living. Surgery was 3 weeks back, and I was still a mess, popping pain pills that didn't do much but make me foggy. That night, I was just trying to soak out the stiffness, let the heat loosen me up a little. The bathroom's right next to our bedroom, and the walls in this old house are so thin you can hear a mouse sneeze 2 rooms over. I had my eyes shut, focusing on breathing through the dull burn in my arm, when I caught their voices. My wife, Carla, she's 39, been with me since we were kids, and our daughter, Ellie, who just turned 15. They were in the bedroom, probably thinking I couldn't hear over the drip of the faucet. Carla's voice was low, tired, like she'd been carrying something heavy all day. She was talking about money, the hospital bills piling up, how my being out of work was bleeding us dry. Normal stuff, I figured, until she said something that made my gut twist. If he doesn't make it, we cash in the policy, $200,000. If he pulls through, we're stuck with the loans, probably $30,000 after insurance. Either way, it's a win for us. Then Ellie giggled. My little girl, the one I'd carried on my shoulders at county fairs, laughed like it was a punchline. I stopped breathing for a second, just let the water lap around my chin. I slid under, held my breath for maybe 30 seconds, feeling the quiet press in, wondering what it'd be like to stay down there forever. When I came up, my hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from this icy clarity hitting me square in the chest. See, I'm Jack, 42 years old, a carpenter by trade, built half the decks and barns in this county with my own 2 hands. That shoulder surgery wasn't anything wild, just fixing what 20 years of hard labor broke down. Doc said I'd heal up, but it'd take months, maybe a year before I could swing a hammer again. I'd been telling myself Carla and Ellie were just stressed, worried about me. But hearing them lay it out like that, like I was a lottery ticket they were waiting to scratch, it flipped a switch in me. I didn't yell or bust through the wall like some action movie guy. I climbed out of that tub, slow and careful, wincing as my shoulders screamed, dried off, and pulled on my sweatpants. Downstairs, I sat at the kitchen table with them like nothing happened. Carla slid a plate of meatloaf my way, asked how I was feeling. I said, sore, and forced a grin. Ellie barely looked up from her phone, muttering about some school dance. I chewed my food, nodded at their small talk, even thanked Carla for the meal. Inside, though, I was spinning. All those little things I'd brushed off came rushing back, Carla asking about my life insurance last summer, saying we should bump it up, just in case. Ellie acting like my surgery was no big deal, barely checking on me. The way they'd whisper and go quiet when I walked in. I'd been blind, but now I was seeing clear as day. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. Told Carla my shoulder needed me flat on the couch, more room to stretch out. She bought it, kissed my forehead like she cared, and went upstairs. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling like a stranger in my own house. They didn't know I'd heard them, and I wasn't about to tip my hand. Not yet. I had to figure this out, protect myself, get my head straight. 20 years with Carla, raising Ellie from a squalling baby to this cold teenager, and it all came down to them betting on my grave. I wasn't gonna let that stand. By morning, I knew one thing for sure. I was done being their paycheck, dead or alive. The next morning, I woke up on that lumpy couch with my shoulder throbbing like someone was driving nails into it. The house was quiet, Carla had already left for her shift at the diner, and Ellie was probably still snoring upstairs, waiting for the school bus. I sat up slow, rubbing my eyes, and that conversation from the night before hit me all over again. It wasn't a dream. My wife and daughter really sat there, laughing about me kicking the bucket or dragging them into debt. I could still hear Ellie's giggle, sharp and careless, echoing in my skull. But I didn't have time to wallow, I had work to do. First thing, I grabbed my phone off the coffee table and started making calls. My hands were steady now, not shaking like they were in the tub. I rang up my old buddy Tom, a guy I'd known since we were kids tossing baseballs in the backyard. He's a number cruncher now, works at some financial office downtown. I told him I needed advice for a friend who was in a bad spot with his marriage. Tom's no fool. He saw right through that in about 10 seconds. Jack, this ain't about no friend, is it? He said, voice low like he was afraid Carla might overhear through the phone. I sighed, admitted it was me, and spilled just enough to get his help without unloading the whole ugly mess. Tom told me to start with the basics, lock down my money. So, I drove to a bank across town, one Carla never stepped foot in, and opened a new account. Took me half an hour with the paperwork, my shoulder aching every time I signed my name. I set it up so my disability checks, those little lifelines I'd been getting since the surgery, would land there instead of our joint account. Then I called my insurance company. Turns out Carla had bumped my life insurance to $200,000 a few months back, claiming it was for the family. I never signed nothing for that, but there it was, my name on the dotted line, digital as you please. Couldn't prove she faked it, but my gut knew. I dropped it back to the old amount, $50,000, and changed the beneficiary to my brother, Mike. Carla wouldn't see a dime if I croaked now. Back home, I started digging. Found a stack of bills on the kitchen counter, hospital stuff mostly, with little notes in Carla's handwriting circling the big numbers. I snapped pictures with my phone, every paper, every scribble. Then I changed all my passwords, email, bank, even that stupid streaming app we shared. Carla used to know them all, back when I trusted her with everything. Not anymore. I kept my phone on me, started recording little snippets when they talked around me. Tennessee's a one-party consent state. I checked online, so it's legal as long as I'm in the conversation. Every "how you feeling, hon?" from Carla, every grunt from Ellie, I got it saved. The pain helped, weirdly. I was hurting bad enough that nobody questioned me sitting around, staring at my phone, or hobbling to the bathroom for long stretches. Carla'd come home from work, all smiles and greasy apron, and fuss over me, bringing me water, fluffing the couch pillows. I'd nod, say thanks, play the part of the busted-up husband. Inside, I was a million miles away, planning. Ellie barely noticed me unless she wanted something. Money for new sneakers, a ride to her friend's house. I'd tell her we were tight on cash, watch her roll her eyes, and stomp off. She didn't know I was already cutting her off, piece by piece. That afternoon, I limped out to the garage, my sanctuary, full of tools and sawdust smells, and found my lockbox under a pile of tarps. Birth certificate, truck title in my name only, thank God, and some old tax returns. I stuffed them in a duffel bag and drove to a bank 20 miles out, rented a safety deposit box. Carla didn't know it existed. By the time I got back, the sun was dipping low, and I was wiped out, sweating through my shirt from the pain. But I felt good, like I was building something solid for once, not just tearing it down. Dinner that night was spaghetti, Carla's quick go-to. She chattered about her day, some rude customer, a broken coffee machine. Ellie shoveled noodles and complained about algebra homework. I sat there, twirling my fork, smiling when I was supposed to, but my mind was on the next step. I wasn't just surviving this. I was going to outsmart them. They thought I was a paycheck or a corpse. I'd show them I was neither. Not yet. A week passed since that night in the tub, and I was settling into this double life I'd carved out. On the outside, I was Jack the Invalid, shoulders strapped up, moving slow, grunting when I stood. Carla and Ellie saw me as a burden, a guy who couldn't even lift a gallon of milk without wincing. But inside, I was a man on a mission, piecing together a way out while they went on thinking they had me figured. Every day, I added to my stash of evidence. Every night, I lay on that couch plotting. It was exhausting, keeping up the act, but I'd built houses in 90-degree heat. I could handle this. Carla started showing cracks first. She'd come home from the diner, her ponytail sagging, eyes tired, and there'd be this edge to her voice. "You eat today, Jack?" she'd ask, like it was a chore to check on me. I'd say yeah, mumble something about the pain, and she'd nod, but her mouth would tighten, like she was biting back something mean. One night, she left her purse on the counter, dumb move, and I peeked while she was in the shower. Found a receipt for a lawyer's consultation, dated 2 days after my surgery. Not a divorce lawyer, mind you, some estate guy. She'd been looking into what happens if I died, how fast the money'd come. My chest went cold seeing that crumpled paper, her handwriting on the back. Policy details? Ellie was worse, in her own way. She'd breeze through the house, headphones on, acting like I was furniture. But then she'd hit me up for stuff, $20 for a movie, gas money for her friend's mom to drive her somewhere. I'd say no, tell her the bills were stacking up, and she'd huff like I'd ruined her whole life. One afternoon, she plopped down next to me on the couch, rare move, and asked if I'd thought about going back to work early. "Mom says we're broke, 'cause you're not pulling your weight," she said, not even looking at me, scrolling her phone. I stared at her, this kid I'd taught to fish down at Miller's Creek, and said, "Doc says I can't yet, Ellie." She shrugged, muttered, "Whatever," and left. That pulling your weight line? Straight from Carla's mouth. I kept recording. Caught Carla on the phone with her sister one night, out on the porch where she thought I couldn't hear. If he'd just, God, I don't know. Things'd be easier, she said, voice shaky. The insurance would cover it all, you know? Now it's just dragging on. My phone picked up every word, tucked in my pocket while I pretended to nap. Another time, Ellie was griping to a friend over FaceTime in her room. Door cracked just enough. "Yeah, my dad's still messed up. Mom says we might lose the house if he doesn't get better, or you know." A laugh, quick and sharp. "She's kidding, sorta." Sorta. That word stuck in my throat like a fishbone. The physical stuff was rough. Shoulders still felt like a bag of broken glass, but it was my cover. I'd groan loud when Carla was around, limp a little extra. She'd bring me pills, adjust my sling, play the worried wife. Sometimes she'd touch my hand, and I'd wonder if she was feeling for a pulse, checking if I was close to cashing out. I'd thank her, keep my eyes dull, let her think I was clueless. Meanwhile, I was moving money, shifted another chunk of savings to my new account, canceled a joint credit card she didn't use much anyway, called the insurance folks again, made sure Mike was locked in as beneficiary. Every move was quiet, steady, like setting joists for a floor nobody'd see till it held weight. Then there was the truck, my beat-up Ford, paid off years ago. I'd catch Carla eyeing it when she thought I wasn't looking, like she was counting its worth. One morning, she said, casual as anything, "Maybe we should sell the truck, Jack. Get something smaller, save on gas." I knew what she meant. Liquidate it. Pat her nest egg. I told her I needed it for when I got back to work, that it was my lifeline. She dropped it, but her jaw twitched. That night, I parked it at Tom's place, told him to hang on to the keys. Just till I'm steady, I said. He nodded, didn't ask questions. By Friday, I had a job lead, foreman gig in North Carolina, overseeing a crew instead of swinging tools myself. Less strain, decent pay, 600 miles from here. Didn't take it yet, but I emailed the guy, said I'd call Monday. My shoulder'd be good enough in a couple months, and I'd be gone. Carla and Ellie didn't suspect a thing. They were too busy waiting for me to die or break. I almost felt sorry for them, thinking they'd won before the game even started. Almost. 2 weeks into this mess, I was done playing defense. I'd locked down my money, got my papers safe, and had that job in North Carolina simmering on the back burner. But I needed to shake things up, make a move they couldn't ignore. My shoulder was still a wreck. Every twist sent a jolt down my arm, but I could drive short stretches, think straight through the pain. So, one morning, while Carla was slinging hash browns at the diner and Ellie was at school, I decided it was time to flip the table. I called a realtor, guy named Dan I'd met at a job site years back. Told him I wanted to sell the house. Our little 3-bedroom with the sagging porch and the oak tree Ellie used to climb. Market was hot. He said, could probably get $60,000 in equity after the mortgage. Split with Carla. That'd be 30 grand for me, enough to start fresh. I told him to list it, quiet like, no sign out front yet. Just get the ball rolling, I said. He asked if my wife was on board. I lied, said we'd talked it over. She'd find out soon enough. Next, I met Tom for coffee at a gas station halfway out of town. My truck was still at his place, safe from Carla's grubby hands. I slid into the booth, wincing as my shoulder bumped the table, and laid it all out. Carla's lawyer receipt, Ellie's cold shoulder, the recordings. Tom whistled low, shook his head. Man, Jack, that's some cold-blooded stuff. You sure about this? I nodded. They think I'm a dead man walking. I'm walking, all right, right out the door. He gave me a lawyer's name, Sarah, tough as nails, used to handling guys like me getting screwed over. I called her from the parking lot, set a meeting for Friday. Back home, I kept the act up. Carla got in that night, smelling like fryer grease, and asked how my day was. Quiet, I said, propped on the couch with a beer I couldn't really drink. Pain meds didn't mix. She sat across from me, kicked off her shoes, and started griping about work. I nodded, half listening, watching her hands fidget. She was nervous, I could tell, kept glancing at me like she was waiting for something to give. Ellie came down, grabbed a soda, didn't say a word. I caught them exchanging a look, quick, sharp, like they were in on a secret. My secret was bigger. Thursday, Sarah the lawyer laid it out clean. The recordings wouldn't prove much in court, too shaky, context-wise, but Carla's insurance hike and that estate lawyer visit? Red flags. Shows intent, Sarah said, tapping her pen. We can use it to scare her, keep her from fighting dirty. She started drafting divorce papers, told me to sit tight till the house sale moved. I didn't tell Carla nothing yet, wanted her blindsided, same as me in that tub. That night, Ellie asked if I could take her to the mall Saturday. Shoulder's too bad, I said. She stomped off, muttering about me being useless. I almost laughed. Useless was the last thing I was. Friday morning, Dan called, the house listing went live online. Couple hours later, Carla's phone buzzed while she was in the kitchen. I heard her gasp, then her footsteps stomping toward me. Jack, what the hell? You put the house up for sale? She held her phone out, screen showing the listing, our front door, that oak tree, all of it. I looked up, calm as could be, and said, yeah, we need the money, right? Bills and all. Her face went red, then white. We didn't talk about this, she yelled. I shrugged, hurt like hell, but worth it. Thought you'd be glad. Less to worry about if I'm gone. Her mouth opened, shut, and she stormed out. Checkmate. That night, I packed a bag, just clothes, meds, a few tools I couldn't leave behind. Hid it in the garage under an old tarp. Carla barely spoke at dinner. Ellie kept her head down. The air was thick, like before a storm. I slept on the couch again, listening to the house creak, feeling the weight of what was coming. I wasn't running yet, but I was ready. They thought they buried me. I was just getting started. The weekend after I dropped the house sale bomb, things went from tense to outright war. Carla wasn't playing the sweet wife no more. Her mask was off, and what was underneath was ugly. Saturday morning, she cornered me in the living room, hands on her hips, eyes blazing like I'd stolen something from her. You think you can just sell our house out from under me, Jack? After everything I've done, she shouted. I was on the couch, shoulder aching, but I kept my voice steady. Everything you've done? Like what? Carla, waiting for me to die so you can cash in. Her face froze, just for a second, then she started yelling louder, calling me paranoid, saying the pain pills messed with my head. I didn't bite. Just sat there, letting her tire herself out. Ellie came downstairs halfway through, saw us, and bolted back up like she didn't want no part of it. Smart kid, for once. When Carla finally ran out of steam, she stormed off to the kitchen, slamming cabinets. I heard her on the phone later, voice low, probably to her sister, or that lawyer she'd seen. Didn't matter, I had Sarah in my corner now, and she was ready to swing. That afternoon, Dan the realtor called, Got an offer on the house already, $58,000 in equity after fees. I told him to take it, set the closing for 2 weeks out. Carla'd find out when the papers hit. Sunday, Ellie tried a different tack. She came down all quiet, sat next to me with those big eyes she used to get her way as a kid. Dad, why are you doing this? Selling the house and stuff? Don't you care about us? Her voice was soft, almost broke me for a second. I looked at her, saw the little girl I'd pushed on swings, then remembered her laugh in that bedroom, cold, calculating. I heard you, Ellie, I said, real slow. You and your mom, talking about me dying. How'd it be a win either way? Don't play innocent now. Her mouth dropped, eyes went wide, and she stammered something about it being a joke. I cut her off. Joke's over, kid. I'm done being your punchline. She ran upstairs crying, and Carla came charging back in, screaming about me turning her daughter against her. I stood up, hurt like hell, and said, You did that yourself, Carla. I'm just cleaning up the mess. That shut her up, but her glare could have burned a hole through me. I knew then the gloves were off, she'd fight dirty if she could. Good thing I'd already moved my truck, locked my money, changed my insurance. She had nothing to grab onto. Monday, I met Sarah at her office, a little hole in the wall with coffee stains on the carpet. She had the divorce papers ready, thick stack of legal words I barely understood. We file this week, she said. How Sale'll push it through faster shows you're serious. She'll try to claim abandonment, but your evidence will make her look bad. I nodded, signed where she pointed. Told her about the North Carolina job, start date in 6 weeks, lined up with my recovery. She grinned, said it was perfect timing. Get out of Dodge, Jack. Let her flail here. That night, Carla found a bank statement, old one, from before I moved stuff. She waved it in my face, demanding to know why the balance was low. Where's the money, Jack? You hiding it? I shrugged, said medical bills ate it up. Lie, but she couldn't prove different. She threw the paper down, called me a liar, said she'd figure it out. I just smiled, let her dig. She'd find nothing but empty holes. Ellie stayed in her room, music blasting, avoiding us both. I slept with my bag packed in the garage, keys in my pocket. The offer on the house got accepted that day, closing was set, my half of the cash coming soon. I could feel the exit door cracking open. By Tuesday, Carla was on the phone nonstop, friends, family, spinning some story about me losing my mind. I heard her through the thin walls, telling her mom I'd gone crazy after surgery, that I was tearing our life apart. Let her talk. I had Tom, Mike, a couple old crew guys who knew the truth. They'd seen her cold side over the years, warned me even. I'd been too stubborn to listen till now. The storm was here, all right, but I wasn't the one getting washed away. The next few days felt like walking through a minefield. Carla was a live wire, snapping at everything, me, Ellie, even the dog, who'd started hiding under the porch. She knew something was slipping away, but she couldn't pin it down. I kept my head low, played the broken man, shoulder sling on, slow steps, grunts of pain I didn't have to fake. But every move I made was deliberate, cutting the ropes that tied me to this life. The house sale was locked in, closing in 10 days. Sarah had the divorce papers filed, and Carla'd get served any minute. I was a ghost in my own home, waiting to vanish. Wednesday, it hit. I was in the garage, tinkering with an old saw blade I'd never use again, when I heard the doorbell. Carla answered, and I peeked through the cracked door. Some kid in a polo shirt handed her an envelope. She ripped it open right there, and I swear the air changed. Jack, she yelled, storming toward me, paper shaking in her hand. Divorce? You're divorcing me. Her voice was shrill, breaking like glass. I stepped out, leaned on the workbench, and said, Yeah, Carla. We're done. She stared, mouth flapping like a fish, then threw the papers at me. They scattered across the oil-stained floor. You can't do this. After 20 years, you think you can just walk away, she screamed. I looked her dead in the eye. I heard you, Carla. You and Ellie, betting on me dying. 20 years don't mean much when you're counting my insurance money. She went pale, stammered something about me twisting things, but I held up a hand. Save it. I got proof, your calls, your searches. Lawyers got it all. That shut her up, but her eyes burned with something I hadn't seen before, panic, maybe hate. She spun around, slammed the door, and I heard her sobbing inside. Didn't feel good, didn't feel bad, just felt final. Ellie came home later, saw her mom crying on the couch, and glared at me like I'd kicked a puppy. What did you do, Dad? She snapped. I picked up the divorce papers, handed them to her. Read it, Ellie. Then ask your mom what she did. She snatched them, skimmed a page, and her face crumpled. This is cause of that stupid talk? It wasn't serious. I shook my head. Serious enough to laugh about, kid. Serious enough to plan. She threw the papers back, ran upstairs. Door slammed. Music blared. Same old dance. Thursday, I called the North Carolina guy. Job was mine, starting in 5 weeks. Told him I'd be there, no question. Then I met Tom at his place, grabbed my truck keys. You sure, Jack? He asked, handing me a beer I didn't drink. Sure as I've ever been, I said. Drove the truck to a buddy's lot, parked it under a tarp. Carla wouldn't find it. That night, I moved my bag to Mike's house, 30 miles out. Told Carla I needed a night away, shoulder acting up. She didn't argue, just glared, arms crossed. Mike welcomed me with a slap on the back, gentle, cause of my arm, and a spare room. You're doing right, brother, he said. I nodded, crashed hard. Friday, Sarah called. Carla's lawyer reached out, trying to fight the divorce, claiming I'd abandoned them. Sarah laughed it off. She's got nothing, Jack. House sale's locked, your money's safe. She'll settle or lose worse. I felt a weight lift, first time in weeks. Back at the house, Carla was quiet, too quiet. Found her tablet on the counter, history open. How to contest a divorce, spousal support after injury. She was scrambling, but I built my walls too high. Ellie stayed locked in her room, didn't even come down for dinner. I ate alone, cold pizza, staring at the oak tree out the window. Soon it'd be someone else's problem. By Saturday, I was ready to go. House closing was Monday, my 30 grand would hit my new account, untouchable. I'd leave Tuesday, drive to North Carolina slow, let my shoulder heal on the road. Carla and Ellie could keep their little world. I didn't fit in it no more. That night, I sat on the porch, air crisp, listening to crickets. Felt like I was shedding skin, leaving the old Jack behind. Wasn't revenge, wasn't hate, just survival. And I was damn good at that. Monday came fast, like a freight train I'd been waiting to hop. The house closing was at 10, me and Carla at a lawyer's office downtown, signing away 20 years in a room that smelled like stale coffee and printer ink. She wouldn't look at me, just scribbled her name where Dan pointed, lips tight. I signed too, shoulder twinging with every pen stroke. 58,000 split down the middle, 29 grand each, wired to our accounts. Mine went to the new one Carla couldn't touch. She got up, grabbed her purse, and left without a word. Ellie wasn't there school, or maybe she just couldn't face it. Didn't matter. It was done. I drove to Mike's after, picked up my bag and the last of my stuff. He hugged me, awkward, cause of my arm, and said, "You're tougher than I thought, Jack." I laughed, first real one in weeks. Had to be, I said. Loaded my truck, clothes, tools, a cooler with water and sandwiches, and hit the road Tuesday morning. 600 miles to North Carolina, slow and easy, stopping when my shoulder begged me to. Radio played old country tunes, and I let the hum of the tires wash out the noise in my head. Didn't look back once. Got to Asheville Thursday night, pulled into a cheap motel till my apartment was ready. Job started in 4 weeks, foreman gig, managing a crew building cabins up in the mountains. Less hammering, more pointing and yelling, perfect for a guy with a busted wing. First day there, I walked downtown, grabbed a beer at a bar with sawdust on the floor. Nobody knew me, no whispers about a crazy husband or a dying paycheck. Just a guy with a sling and a cold drink. Felt like breathing for the first time in months. A week later, Ellie called. I was on the motel bed, flipping channels, when her number popped up. Almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Dad? Her voice was small, shaky. Mom's a mess. She's working doubles, barely talks. Can you come back? I stared at the cracked ceiling, felt that old pull in my chest, the dad instinct, hard to kill. Then I saw her laughing in my mind, counting my death money with Carla. No, Ellie, I said, firm but not mean. Your mom will figure it out. You will too. This is on you now. She cried, said she was sorry, that she didn't mean it. Maybe you didn't, I told her. But you said it. Actions got consequences, kid. Call me when you're 18, if you want. Doors open then. Hung up before she could beg more. Carla tried next, left a voicemail Friday. Jack, this is ridiculous. We can fix this. Come home. Didn't call back. Deleted it. Mike told me later she'd moved into a one-bedroom, took a second job at a gas station. Spun some tale to her folks about me cracking up after surgery. Some bought it, some didn't. Didn't care either way, she'd build her bed, let her lie in it. My money was mine, truck was mine, life was mine. She'd get nothing else. 2 months in, I'm settled. Apartment, small kitchenette, balcony with a view of pines and peaks. Job's good, crew respects me, work steady. Shoulders healing slow, but I can lift a coffee mug now without swearing. Made a couple buddies, guys from work, a neighbor who fishes. Joined a hiking group last week, took a trail that damn near killed me but left me grinning. Downloaded a dating app, swiped a few times, but ain't ready yet. Baby steps, like the doc said. Nights, I sit on that balcony, beer in hand, watching the sun dip behind the mountains. Sometimes I think about that tub, the water closing in, the quiet, the burn in my lungs. Used to be I was testing how long I could stay under, like I was practicing for the end. Now I'm testing how loud I can live, new job, new place, new me. Carla and Ellie are ghosts back in Tennessee, fading a little every day. Maybe Ellie will show up one day, maybe not. Either way, I'm Jack, 42, banged up but standing. Built a life once, lost it, built another. That's what I do. Build. And this time, it's mine to keep.